But when I came here to North Carolina to take on the student pastor role, the lead position of student ministry, I didn't really know exactly what to do. Like, I had some things that I learned along the way in my 20 years of working with students and being in and around student ministry, but I didn't really know what it meant to lead. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Keys to Student Ministry podcast. I am your host, Herbert Smyer, but for the duration of this journey, I will go by Pastor Herb because that is what my students call me. And so I am excited about going on this journey. This has been a long time coming in my mind, and I've been considering and thinking about it and putting things together. And finally, I just said, let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. And here we are. I can't wait for you to go along with this journey with me and to really just put things out there for others to grab and to hold on. And, just like me, going and searching for answers concerning student ministry and how to use it in my context and how people poured into me and how other student pastors gave me tips and tools. I would like to provide the same thing. So welcome. I'm excited, and let's go on this journey. So the number one question is, why am I even doing this? Well, like I just mentioned, I've been around student ministry since I was 19. But when I came, and I'm in North Carolina, I started out in Oakland, California. But when I came here to North Carolina to take on the student pastor role, the lead position of student ministry, I didn't really know exactly what to do. Like, I had some things that I learned along the way in my 20 years of working with students and being in and around student ministry, but I didn't really know what it meant to lead. And so first thing I did when I came in is I tried to seek out local student pastors that have experience, that's been in there. And a couple of things that I was afraid of was that I didn't know how to prepare years of messages. And what do I do in the wintertime? What activities do I do in the summertime? Curriculums and all this other stuff. So I sought out student pastors, and I was able to run across a group of student pastors where they will hang out each month. And each month you get a chance to get together and share ideas. Well, at this time, I didn't have anything to really share, so I just came receiving. And the tips and the tools that I learned, I was able to apply it to my context. Now, these are some of the pastors that I saw, and they're in, groups with 150 students, mega churches. But then there are also some that was there that had about 40 kids or 50 kids. And so everyone provided tips, everyone provided strategies and how to plan events and all that stuff that I was just excited to learn. And I was able to implement it the next day. Some things that I took that it was later on down the line, and, as the student ministry grew, that I can implement it. But then there were some things that I say, hey, I could do this tomorrow. I can talk to my leaders now or start recruiting now based off of what I learned while I was there. And so that's why I'm so excited to share this with you, because I know there are those that are out there. And again, this is for student pastors, leaders in, a youth group, volunteers, parents. Even if you're a pastor and you're trying to start a youth ministry, this is for you. So my goal is that you can take the tips and the strategies from this podcast and be able to use it tomorrow. That's the goal. But here's my journey. I gave my life to the Lord at 18 years old. And so at 18 years old, I went to a youth ministry, or I went to a youth night that my friend invited me to. And I only went there for pizza and girls. That's the only reason why I went. I did not grow up in church. And he would always ask me to go hear him play the drums and, come on, you should check it out. Come to church. And I would always turn him down. And the one thing he said, well, there's going to be pizza there. There's going to be girls. I was like, all right, cool. You got me. And so I went. It was a Tuesday night. Can't forget it. And as I'm there, I did, the pizza was there and the girls were there, as a, 18-year-old fresh out of high school. But one thing I did not anticipate is hearing the word of God, hearing the gospel. And so when I heard it, I knew everything about it was true. I knew it. I feel like God just downloaded that in me. He put that in my heart, and it was true. And so from that night, I continued to ask questions to my youth pastor, Sister Mia, and her husband, Elder Gordon. I used to ask a lot of questions, wanted to know more about the Bible, wanted to know more about God, till one day I just said, you know what, I just want to fully commit to God. I fully want to commit to Him. I believe the gospel is true. I believe that Jesus died for my sins, and that He did rise up from the grave, and that because of that, I'm saved. My sins are forgiven. I don't have to go to hell. I don't have to walk around in shame or guilt. From that time, that, I guess, youth ministry was close to my heart, because that's where I gave my life to the Lord. Ever since then, I was in and around student ministry, even at 19, growing in the Lord. One of my first time serving was in student ministry and being around the teens. And, at the time, the student ministry wasn't that big. Most of the people I knew were my friends, but as more began to come, and I got older, I was able to help out and to see things. And, it was a blessing for me to see. But I went from there after I grew and matured in the Lord, and I ended up going to Bible college, SUM, School of Urban Missions, Bible College, now Theological Seminary, that's based in California, Northern California, that is. But I went there, and as I was going to school there, they developed a youth ministry there on campus, and the students of the school ran it. And so I wanted to join that, and I became part of the leaders, or one of the pastors, and our whole goal was to impact or, bring the city to Jesus. That was the goal. And so it was 13 of us, and we were all over Oakland. And what we would do every Friday night, we would bring all the kids from the community and around Oakland, California, because there are 7 districts, and we would bring them on campus. And there was about 150 students every Friday night. And I got a chance to see just relationships being built. I got a chance to see visitations. I got a chance to see growth in the students to the point where they became leaders. Got a chance to see ups, downs, big events, failed events, very successful events. Got a chance to see the Lord move in young people and students, and got a chance to see what God can do with a bunch of people that was just sold out and that was ready to take the city for Jesus. So got a chance to see that in Oakland. And then when I graduated, went to finally like a church I did choose the first church, but this second church I went to, one of the professors that was there, he's my theology professor, systematic theology professor, and I joined his church. And there it was a smaller scale, but again, I jumped into student ministry. And so we saw some great things. And again, how to operate there. I found out how to operate, when you don't have a space, when you don't have a youth room, so we kind of met, like, it was just like this upstairs attic type deal. It wasn't an attic, but it was like this church's like education room, but it wasn't that big. And so led a student ministry there for, about 2.5 years. Then eventually I ended up moving to Bloomington, Illinois. I ended up getting married, moved to Bloomington, Illinois, and had a chance, to, again, I jumped in the student ministry there, and I had a chance to walk under, great leadership and one of my closest friends. And I got a chance to walk with him and seeing how serious to take prayer and planning and prepping. And at the time I was like, why do we have to do all this? He wanted to know every detail of what was going to happen. And then I appreciate that. Now that I look back, I appreciate that. But at the time I was like, man, you don't really have to do all that. But got a chance to see students grow up, go to college, start their adult lives. And I got a chance to see all that. But there was a big difference between Oakland and Bloomington, Illinois. So in Oakland, a lot of the kids, they came from different environments, whether you had parents and a dad in the home, no dad in the home, both parents, no parents, living with grandma, family members may be in jail or on drugs, or whatever that is, inner city issues. And I went from that to going to an environment where, kids played sports. They had practice. Sometimes families went on vacation, but you still had an element mixed in there with a single family home or raised with grandma or, again, sometimes in certain parts of Bloomington, inner city issues. So got a chance to see both, but I quickly realized I was in a different place because I was preaching the message and I was talking about cutting school, right? Now in Oakland, that would apply to this demographic that I was speaking to. But in Illinois, when I used that illustration on one of the ways how you can honor God is not cutting school, and they all looked at me like, why would I cut school? I don't get it. So right then and there, I knew I was in a different environment, and I knew I had to switch it up, and I knew I had to get a chance to learn them more and not have the I guess the preconceived, thought that because these kids or some of them are well off, that then they have no issues, right? And that's where I learned that just because they don't come from a harsh environment doesn't mean that they don't need Jesus. So learning that. And then after being there for a while and being a part of student ministry there, eventually my wife and I, where it brings us here to North Carolina now, is I accepted the student pastor position here in North Carolina, where I currently pastor and carry. And so went there. And what was different about this is I no longer was a volunteer or one of the leaders. Now I am the person that God has chosen. I am the lead student pastor. And so that was different for me. Let me rewind. At first, I didn't want to do it because I thought I was done with student ministry. I've been around teens. Even I worked in the special ed field and around teens and middle schoolers with autism, middle schoolers and high schoolers. And I thought at this time, I'm done with teens. I can definitely provide more in the adult congregation and, no longer need to be in youth ministry. Sorry. I had to get my charger. But I no longer need to be in student ministry, right? Because I think I can do more. And I fought against that. And I fought against that. And then when this opportunity came around, the Lord was like, nah, I still got more for you to do. You can't dodge this. You can't run from it. And everywhere I went, it was like, man, you look good. You look like you could be the student pastor. Oh man, because I used to rap too. Oh man, you rap, so you can be, in student ministry. They need some of that relevance. And I always used to shun that idea. And then I finally said, okay, let's do it. Let alone, I didn't even believe that you can actually have this as a vocation. So I never thought about the money when I thought about student ministry. I never thought about getting paid. And, it was always something I feel like the Lord wanted me to do. But when this opportunity came up, I was a little nervous. I was scared because I didn't think I was going to last that long. I thought I was going to fail or, my flaws and everything else was going to be exposed. And I was, they're going to see that I'm ill-equipped to do this and all this noise, that was in my head. But thank God that I ran into a group of people that, took me in, gave me advice, gave me tools, opened their arms to me, was able to see, their strategies and how they execute things. And, and that right there, how the Lord provided that was second to none. So that's what prompted this podcast. This is what caused me to want to do this, because I want to give back, or I want to give to those who may be struggling, or you're not even struggling, you just want some new ideas. This is the podcast where this can happen, to where you can take the tips and tools and the strategies here and apply it to your context, right? You may be in the inner city, you may be in the suburbs, you may be, whatever the context is in the rural area, how do you say that word? Areas. And you can take some of these and you can apply it to where you are. And so I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to take this journey with you all. And, I will say, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, because listen, we got some content. I got some guests that's going to come on here and share, their views and their expertise and what they do. So I can't wait to get to that. But you know what? After, being in student ministry for 19 or for 20 years, there's a lot that I've seen, and there were some things that I already knew, but there's definitely a lot more that I needed to know in areas where I needed to grow. Also, let me just throw this in there. Having a leadership that won't hold punches back, that will let you know where you need to improve and show you different methods and strategies. Because one of the biggest things that I needed to improve on was administration, the back office stuff. See, I always had this big vision for things, and building relationships is one of my biggest strengths, but the back office stuff is where I really struggle. So I really had to go through that process. And that's that's another one of the things I was afraid of, that I did not know how to do the back office stuff, the admin stuff. One of the leaders that I knew, and I called him up and told him I was taking this position, he's like, brother, you need to get you an assistant until you really can get a hold of this, because I know you. And I don't fault him for that. But one of the things that the Lord showed me was that I was not incapable of doing that. That's actually one of the tools that he wanted to download in me. And no, I'm not perfect at it, but I've definitely gotten better. And where I am now, I've been in this position for 3 years. So I'm definitely grateful, because the average stat of a youth pastor being in position is about 18 months. And so we cleared that, y'all. We made it over 2 years. We're in our 3rd year now. And so, let's go. I'm excited. And so in my closing, y'all, I need y'all to join me, to roll with me, to rock with me, to share. Let's just say you're a pastor and you're not looking to do student ministry, but you're trying to raise somebody else up. Slide them this podcast, because there's some tips and tools that's going to be in here that's going to greatly help him or her. Everything from the importance of relationship building, or the keys to relationship building, or the keys to event planning, the keys to outreach, whatever that is, they'll definitely be able to benefit from this podcast. So listen, y'all, we are just getting started. I'm excited, and hopefully you guys are all excited. And you know what? We're just going to go straight forward, y'all. So check us out, Keys to Student Ministry Podcast. This is the intro, y'all. The intro to everything getting started. So again, I'm Herbert Smyer, or for now on, for the rest of this journey, Pastor Herbert, because that's what my students call me. God bless y'all. And I can't, again, I just can't wait. I can't express that enough to go further and to go deeper in what student ministry is about, because many people, and even parents for sure, think that this is a baby sitting ministry, and it's not. The students want to grow closer to the Lord, just like the adults do. God has goals for them, just like he has goals for their grandparents, aunties, or uncles, or dads. He has a call in their life, just like he has a call on your life. He desires to be closer to them, and desire his people or his teens to be closer to him, just like he wants the adults to be close to him. It does not matter the age. This is not a babysitter's ministry, where we just have fun and just hang out and eat pizza all day. But no, they need to grow as well. So that's why this podcast is so important, because we want to grow the generation now, because as you know, the youth of the church is the future of the church. And so where there is a lot of young people, you have the future in that church. That church is not going to die. And so let's not die, y'all. Let's keep our young people there. Let's keep them returning, and let's keep them recycling the process of discipleship to where they get discipled. They come back and can disciple others. Let's get to that point, y'all. So love, peace, and hair grease. I love you all, and I can't wait. This is Keys to Student Ministry Podcast. And you can also follow us at Keys to Student _Ministry. That's our IG. So Keys to Student _Ministry. Hit us up on IG, and you can hit us up on TikTok at Keys to Student Ministry, podcast that is simply Keys, not the number 2, but 2, a student ministry podcast on TikTok, and the same thing for YouTube. But I can't wait to rock with y'all in the future. And that's it, y'all. I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.